Hey everyone, this week we're starting a new series that I'm calling Breaking Bad Theology, where we're going to look at different ideas about God and hopefully break down some that are unhelpful, that maybe aren't the best picture of who God really is. And probably your first response to this is, well, who are you to decide what's a good idea and what's a bad idea about God? Which is fair. Plenty of people smarter than me have probably said a lot more about a lot of these issues we'll talk about. And so as we look at some of these different concepts, I want to just focus on two different standards that come from Jesus. In fact, they both come from the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapter 7. The first thing is to ask ourselves, what would an average parent do, right? When we're talking about forgiveness or punishment, for example. Because there in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus says, you who are evil, you know how to give good gifts to your children. Shouldn't God be able to do even better than that? I think it's a helpful standard because a lot of times we can find ideas that, if we translate what God is doing for us to what a parent would do for a child, we would lock that parent in prison for what they do. Even the worst parent wouldn't do some of the things that we just assume is okay for God. It's not always a one-to-one correspondence, but Jesus himself encouraged us to think of God in that way, so I think that's worth doing. And then the second standard is to think about the fruit that comes from a certain concept or idea. Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount talks about false prophets, but I think it's the same for false ideas, false theologies, that look at what comes when you believe this. What kind of person are you formed into? What fruit is born out of your life? Is it the fruit of the Spirit or is it something else? If you believe this about God, does that make you more fearful of God or of other people? Or does it make you more loving towards God and others? So it doesn't matter what kind of arguments you can make. Sometimes the strongest argument is what happens when you believe it. And again, we want to have humility with this. Like I said, I don't think this is the end of any of these conversations, but don't take this the wrong way, that I'm trying to attack God in some way. Really what we always need to do, and myself included, is see the difference between our ideas about God and God himself. Right? Those ideas can be questioned and broken down, and some of them may be lacking. But if we believe God is love, God is goodness incarnate, and all these things, we have to see whether those ideas line up with who we believe God truly is. So, hope you're excited to join us on this journey. See you tomorrow.